And if it didn't, then the stock market was not so loony to keep rising. But it did, and so when the stock market finally recognized that it had, it reflected that real estate trouble. But why it took as long as it did, I have no idea. I think a lot of people buy and sell shares on when I surf around the web looking at people who give advice on stocks, I'm appalled. I mean, this is just egregious nonsense and obvious nonsense in most cases. People are nutty. I don't know why anybody follows them or pays for this stuff or puts up with it, but it's out there. So the stock market's full of a lot of loony stuff. Although, economists for years said it's efficient markets, blah, blah, blah. Every scrap of good information is incorporated instantly into the stock price. That's crazy. It wasn't like that. But I don't really know why it took precisely that long. A lot of things have to get people's attention, and I think that credit crunch, so-called, last September got everybody's attention in a violent way. And from that point on, you're almost whatever the government did. If the government didn't do anything, the stock market fell. If it did something, it fell. Well, it was half right.
We have time for one more.
Okay, here's a question in the front. The middle.
Hi, thanks for coming out. My name is Jason Aarons. I'm a graduate student here in economics. I'm actually teaching the Econ 100 course this semester.
Mm-hmm.
One of the boogeymen of macroeconomics that we talk about sometimes is the downward spiral of deflation.
Yeah.
Right? But you just gave an example, I think, of at least one, maybe multiple times when deflation did show up, and we discovered, lo and behold, the equilibrium point was not absolute zero, that at some point it adjusted back up.
Right.
So my question to you is, do you think that boogeyman is real? Is that something we should be afraid of? Or do you think that, no, generally speaking, deflation readjusts, but it's always going to, that is not going to just fall off a cliff?
I think the mainstream economics profession has a phobia about deflation that is irrational. Because most economists think you should never have any deflation ever for any reason, and that's clearly wrong. We had long-run deflation in the United States from 1865 to 1898. Almost every year the price level fell, and that was the period of most rapid growth of overall GDP in our history. GDP grew about 4% per annum on average. So we had very rapid economic growth with secular deflation. Now, so deflation can be fine if it's slow enough and if it's the product of growing productivity. Okay? But I think if deflation is rapid and it's the product of sudden monetary shocks, then it can be disruptive and harmful. And I think there probably was harm being done in the early 1930s by rapid, substantial, monetary shock-induced deflation. And by the way, what the Fed did then, the monetarists all blamed the Fed for that by saying that it should have taken more active measures to keep that from happening. But the Fed was actually taking positive measures. It was always acting, adding to its portfolio, injecting funds. It's just that it wasn't nearly doing it fast enough, except for one period in mid-1932, to outrun the fact that there was an ongoing large increase in the demand to hold currency rather than bank deposits, which reduced the money multiplier and kept the deflation going. And all these bank failures encouraged the people to withdraw their money and to use cash instead of bank deposits. So I think there was a situation then, and that's where, by the way, I part company with at least some of my Austrian friends who poo-poo this and think, oh, the more deflation, the better. I don't believe that. I think that this secondary deflation that some economists have discussed, including, by the way, Irving Fisher, who I believe coined the phrase, can do harm. Gottfried Habler, who wrote one of the most interesting analyses of the Great Depression, very much believed that secondary deflation had been harmful in the early 30s, and I'm tempted to agree with him. I don't want, however, to represent myself as an authority on this question. I would suggest you take it up with Larry White, who's on the faculty here at GMU, or some of the others who are more authoritative on that matter than I am. Okay, thank you very much for coming.